tutakuwa na session ya fungua roho, malizia ile umeleta. Usijali nitaongea. Because we were to speak as well to legal issues as well as the emerging trends. Emerging trends, Kennedy, Kachwanya, and as well as Rahab will speak to that and whether we're worried about that. But there's something that was mentioned by Rahab, and that is the cyberbullying, and you'll speak to that as well. Last week, or I believe or the week before, there was a case where a TikToker, was facing charges. You just hold it to your mouth when you're ready to speak. And this was, I think, for the sentiments that were posted against Azziad. And seeing that, first of all, it was uncomfortable hearing whatever was posted being said again. But does this set a precedent, and does this say something to the other content creators who feel that they're safe behind a platform or even an account that they can't be traced? Does this say something?
I think the first thing I'd like to say is that, and I'm saying this because I think I'm older than most of you people. So it's important to look at this industry as just one little part in a bigger world, right? So, like for example, we've spoken a lot about taxation, but there are so many other issues: IP rights, cyberbullying, and cyber harassment. And then there's the issue of why are you being taxed in the first place? Yeah, if you exist in this country, you're existing in another space of that there's a revenue deficit, and the government is looking into every available space for that. So I work in policy research and advocacy, which is just basically working on the law before it becomes the law. And I really, really like to historicize everything, not only because I'm old, but also because I think there's always cycles of history, and if you're not careful, you go back to the past. And so as much as content creation in the digital economy has a lot to do with Gen Z, there's so much to learn from the history of Kenya. Go back and look at the point when the internet came to Kenya. It also coincided with the return of multipartyism, and that is why it started by being a super open space where there was so much freedom of expression, which your parents did not experience, right? And it seems like we're having these cycles where we're going back to, let's control everything. If we can't control through technical means, let's control through the revenue. Let's also touch some of these spaces. And just commenting on some of the issues that the panelists have talked about, including community, there's a lot to learn about from how people have come together in the past and not only reacted to what the policymakers, the government has put before them, but also made their own agenda. Yeah, people have gone to court. Look at Kenya Union of Journalists, Media Owners Association during the migration from analog to digital TV, and how they resisted the setup that the government was coming up with. Bloggers Association of Kenya, when the cybercrime bill was brought, when it was still a bill, and how they organized and resisted and brought attention to the issue, right? And created precedent, even if they didn't quote unquote win the case. It's really important to see content creation in the digital economy as one small part in a bigger space. And one of the big changes that has occurred, which brings positive and negative things, is this cybercrime, Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, which on the one hand is really protective in that it creates all these cybercrimes in a more, especially for cyber harassment and cyberbullying, it creates more tools with which somebody can react if they are cyber harassed. And there has been precedent, even before the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, there has been precedent that has been set by the courts, and people have either gone to jail or been punished severely for cyber harassment. Yeah. I think the only issue is that it's not the easiest process. It's not a straightforward process. I mean, court processes sometimes take so long. So and many times the cases have also been brought by non-governmental organizations which are acting on behalf of the public interest. So sometimes it's not also always like a person representing themselves. They have to seek assistance. So it goes back to the point of community, that community is very important and people have to help each other. I'm glad people are starting to think about policy and creating a proactive agenda for what you would like to see in the law. I was listening to one of the content creators who the teenage people in my house like, talking about filming and all the hurdles involved, the licensing and the facilitation involved, and how you have to pay so much money. And I was just thinking, there's so much work that has been done by researchers, academics, NGOs on the content policy in Kenya and how it has evolved over the years. And somebody just needs to pick it up, and when you have an ear of these policymakers and ask them, can you make this change and that change? Yeah? There are so many problems with, even when devolution came.
Yeah.
Part of content policy is with the national government, another part is with the county governments, and they also want to raise revenue. And so there has to be a conversation on how that can be balanced, because at the end of the day, people also have to make money.
Yeah. Thank you for that context. I really want you to speak to, unless you missed it, a week ago, there was a young man who was arraigned because he had spoken one or two.
A lot.
Yeah. Yes, and people would call her and just hurl insults at her, and this is Azziad, and this is the name of cyberbullying. Does this do anything to stop that moving forward? Does it does it show any other content creator the authorities can catch you?
I think it does, to some extent, act as a deterrent, ili iwe funzo kwa wengine, that freedom of expression, which is there in the Constitution, is not an absolute right? That, like, you have to be within. You can't be, hate speaking and calling people to go and attack another person in the name of freedom of expression. Yeah. I think to some extent it does speak to that. I think to another extent it could also be damaging on a lot of the work that has been done in all these issues to do with creating what is the opposite of pollution? An unpolluted, a cleaner online environment, because it has also raised all these, are they called blue pill, or what are they called? The anti-feminist league. Yes, and some of that misinformation keeps spreading outside that legal sphere. Yeah. So there are many sides to the issue. Okay. I think
and this is a civil case?
No.
Or this
it's
criminal?
A criminal case.
Okay.
In fact, it's Republic versus Brian Chira. So it's a criminal case. And in fact, there could still be another case based on sharing of personal information, because allegedly he also shared the personal phone number, and this is also a crime under another act called the Data Protection Act. So I think there could be many sides to the issue. Yeah. There are many spectrum. There's a lot of sides to it, and there's a lot of work to be done in cleaning the online environment and making it a safe space for everybody.